Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, Ken, thanks very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We're here to talk sports with you at 412-575-2600. On Twitter, it's at KTPomp, at Gene Collier. Let us know what you think about the events of the weekend. And yesterday, Steelers coming off a very impressive win. When you consider that Cleveland started well and the Steelers didn't have a first down in that first quarter, but then they turned it on and dominated physically the Cleveland Browns, who today made two moves. Number one, they fire Hugh Jackson. It wasn't a good time to be Lou or Hugh. Tyronn Lue yesterday got fired. Today it was Hugh Jackson. And just as Todd Haley probably thought, all right, good, I'm going to be the head coach, then he got the knock, and he was out as well. Gene Collier, outstanding columnist of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. What do you make of this?
Well, you know, it was interesting yesterday after the Steeler game. Someone with the Cleveland media asked Hugh Jackson for his reaction to Ted Lue being fired. Did you know that? That was on the transcript. Yeah.
And what did he say?
He really had obviously no comment. He said he didn't know about it. So I don't know. Maybe someone can get a hold of Ted Lue today and ask him what he thinks about Hugh Jackson getting fired.
Yeah, not a good day to be a coach in Cleveland, unless your name is Terry Francona. I think he's safe.
Yeah, I mean, he should be fine. But it sounds like, correct me if this isn't right, Bob, that Todd Haley may have been offered that job, but didn't want it on an interim basis.
I've heard all kinds of speculation. So they said, yeah, so then you don't get it at all.
That being the case, you're not getting it at all. I don't know that for a fact, but that's one of the versions of what went down today that is out there.
Then it was Greg Williams' turn. He said, "Sure, I'll take it, and we'll see what happens after that." But quite frankly, that's a mess up there. It continues to be. It's unstable. Every time you turn around, there's either a new quarterback or a new GM or a new coach. And here we go again. Although John Dorsey, who's their new GM, did a pretty good job in the draft, although I have to believe that Hugh Jackson had some input into that. And they got some pretty good players here the last couple of years as, high #1 pick. So we'll see what happens after that. But if you're looking for Cleveland's permanent coach, here's the problem with doing this interim stuff here, Gene. Let's say, hypothetically, that Greg Williams takes over and they win 6 games the rest of the year and show you that they're really better. Do you automatically owe him the job on a regular basis? We've seen, coaches in that position get a job, and then as it turns out, it wasn't really. I remember Bill Stewart down in West Virginia. God rest his soul. He's an outstanding guy, but they rallied around him after a big bowl win and gave him a job that probably was not their best choice at the time.
Yeah, that's true, and that can happen on the pro level too, I suppose. But I think the Browns are, in a situation where they're always kind of starting over. I mean, the most important thing in Cleveland right now is to, have Baker Mayfield improve. He really kind of went backwards a little bit yesterday against the Steelers. I don't think he was very impressive at all. In the previous game against Tampa Bay, he had actually had his best game as a pro. He had a passer rating of 104.4, I believe. His best day, but Sunday certainly was not his best day, and that's the end of Hugh Jackson. I don't know why he went 336-1 in his 3 games.
That's a pretty bad losing percentage, but it was better than his last 2 years, so there was improvement there. All right, the other thing that's going on now is the trade deadline in the NFL is tomorrow at 4 p.m. Typically, you don't see a lot of activity, but there's been a lot of talking about certain teams wanting Patrick Peterson, who's been deemed off limits. But I said today on the radio, Gene, I think sometimes that's just a, maybe a ploy by the team, Arizona, trying to increase leverage so they can get more in a trade. Who knows? Do you think the Steelers should approach them with an offer that they deem fair to try to pry him away, even though they've said he's not going anywhere?
I think they should, but that almost always means they won't. I mean, the Steelers are rarely active at the trade deadline, and when they are, they don't do very well. So I'm not expecting anything to happen tomorrow. I think Patrick Peterson's a good player and could help the Steelers, but and I'd be willing to give up a #1 for them. But people who know better than I do, I don't believe are.
And we found out that Artie Burns was disciplined after something that happened over the weekend, which led to him not playing defense yesterday. We'll get into that. And also, before I go to the break, I want to commend Cam Hayward, his lovely wife, Allie, mother, Charlotte. They put on a beautiful event tonight. It's the 4th annual Hayward House. They raise a lot of money for local charities. And as good a player as Cam Hayward is, he is a much better person. And that's saying something because he's a really good player. But kudos to them for all the money they raised tonight for the Hayward House. When we come back, we'll also talk about the Penguins back in action at home tomorrow against the Islanders after a 4-0 Western Canada swing. It's all coming up, plus your phone calls at 412-575-2600 right here on Pittsburgh CW.